Hello, welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I'm talking to another Californian. So it's Monday, 3:30 p.m. and or 3:45 now because we've been just having a quick chat for 15 minutes and then I realized we hadn't hit record. And it's Tuesday here, 8:45 a.m. Alberto Flores, hopefully I've pronounced your surname right. I'm generally not great at getting that right. I should have checked pre, but welcome to the pod.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really good. Thank you, B. Thank you very much for the invitation. This is, the last 15 minutes that we've been chatting, I just can feel that good energy. Uh, since I received your email, I really thank you. Thank you for the
No, thank
time.
you. Yeah.
Um, I didn't know you were in Australia, and I didn't know you were living, ahead of a time from everybody here in the West Coast in California. But I'm so thankful, and I'm looking forward to have
Bad
this
chat.
conversation.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Just
Until I know, I'm sorry, but until now, I know you're Belinda. Belinda. So yeah, love your name. So thank you,
yeah, no,
Belinda.
it's Belinda Murray, but I do get called bee. You need more bees in the world. You can't. The world can't exist without bees. And I don't like using the word busy, but I certainly like to buzz around. And I'm always that optimistic, energetic person. But we've got a lot to talk about, and I want to quickly intro you. So, serial entrepreneur, product designer, and marketing leader with over 20 years experience. You're the founder of HAFGrow Media, which is a creative agency specializing in Web3 tech, spirits marketing, and brand strategy. And beyond your professional endeavors, you're also a former multi-sport endurance athlete, and you've competed in some of the world's toughest endurance events. And so you've got this unique blend of authentic athletic discipline and entrepreneurial spirit that's positioned you as a thought leader in navigating both physical and business challenges. And we'll come to the insight that you shared with me when you booked in for the pod in a bit. But tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us a bit about how HAFGrow Media came about. Love to hear about also your endurance, your multi-sport sports endurance, kind of endeavors that you've been in also. So just tell us a little bit about what's been happening for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know what? We have a mutual friend that kind of put that on my head when we started having that conversation about,
Charles.
yeah, amazing. That boy, it's incredible. He's putting that on my head about endurance and entrepreneurship, right? And I kind of sit down and start meditating about what I've been doing for, my life. And I opened my first business or launched my first business when I was 17. I'm a creative. I really love design, graphic design. I went and studied graphic design on my own. I didn't like those classes at school, and I always were looking into what my head was, spinning on creativity. So I opened a design in a printing studio when I was 17. Borrowed some money from my mom, and I was like, hey, convince her and like, I want to do this. And I started my first business at 17. And pretty much by 21, 22, I'm running this whole design printing shop, doing a bunch of interesting things like fine art reproduction and playing with colors, doing billboards, doing printing, no computers at the time, so everything is done by hand. At the same time, I always been in sports as a kid. I did karate, martial arts. Then I did a lot of running with my dad. I did long distance running very young. And one day he threw me a bike and I just started jumping on a mountain bike when I was 17, 18. And I think I just started loving in that time to be on the bike and thinking and creating. So I always been using the sports as the venues or was like like a worship for me to really
Yeah.
connect and really connect with nature, but at the same time to put projects on my head. And I started doing endurance sports, back in the 90s, I got into an sport called adventure racing or expedition races. I know Australia has one of the best athletes in that sport.
Who's that?
Uh, there's many. There's too many athletes in Australia,
I
and
thought you were going to say
they're,
one.
they're
Yeah.
amazing, amazing, amazing athletes in the endurance sports. So I started doing kayaking, mountain biking, trail running, navigation, everything with a map and a compass. And I think in life we always apply that, right?
Yeah.
And into our daily
100%.
basis, right? So as an entrepreneur, I combined that part of my endurance sports through the 90s, and then the 2000s I did 5 times the toughest world adventure race called Promo Quest. And it's a team of four. You have three people in your team, and you have a woman in your team. And you must start together and finish at the same time, from 400 miles to 600 miles, the longest I have done. And that's multiple days. You don't sleep. There's a lot of things going in through that event that I always been applying into my business, into my startups. I have HAFGrow Media. It's an agency that consult for brands that are in the way already creating a dream, and they need a little bit of a help to really kind of build the brand and build the product and connecting to now the new era of digital content and
Yeah.
Web3. And since 2007, I've been really involved on the beverage industry. So I've been creating a lot of drinks, a lot of beverage in different spaces, from sports nutrition to spirits to RTDs, ready to
Yeah.
drinks. And I enjoy what I do, and I always balancing, that part of my endurance with entrepreneurship. I love to share that every time I can. So yeah, that's why I'm here, and I'm so happy to really, share this with you. And
Yeah, you're cool. Like, 'cause the fact you are a serial entrepreneur, and I feel like I had Rebel came up for me at one point when you were like, I'm not doing it the way I'm being told to do it. I'm going to do it my way. Like that whole, like, just when they zig, I'm going to zag sort of thing. But just a little fact about me, I was a mountain biker. I used to do downhill mountain biking. I'm also a runner. I've never done an endurance like an endurance event as such, but I've certainly had my fair share of mountain biking, all the armor and riding downhill and like jumping off things. And I've done. I'd say I'm probably more of an extreme sports person versus but I've always done the same thing. I've always associated my sports with how you perform in a business or in your own business as well.
Mhm,
And the
mhm,
need
mhm,
for you can't continue to perform at a level like this constantly. You need to have that active recovery, and like there's certain things that I've had to learn the hard way, thinking that you can just keep performing, performing, performing. But there's so much you can learn from, being an athlete to then how do you apply that into business, and then also from a
mhm,
business perspective, and then how do you apply that into being an athlete. And a lot of it is around that mind, body, and soul connection, right? And how it all connects together, and excuse me, the ability to listen and the ability to know, intuitively
mhm.
what's right and what's not right. Is that something that you kind of like in terms of how you connect the two together?
Yes, yes, yeah, I love that. I love that. I didn't know that you were mountain biker and runner, so there we go. That's a connection. You know what I'm talking about. We're been combining that sport. The two of them, those two, adventure racing, but the the running and the mountain biking or the cycling, right?
Mm,
There's always a strengths, right? And you're totally right. The recovery, I think, is the most important right now on
mm,
any sport. And on business, you have to apply the same thing. There is times on the business that you have to really kind of sit down and recover, right? In order to do another step in order to make another decision, right? And I think as a creatives and CEOs of our world, of our business, you always have to do that. There is some restraints that we use on the sports. You know how to pace yourself when you're gonna go for a, you know, a 5 mile run or a 10 mile run or a 100 mile run,
Mhm.
right? You know how to pace it, you know how to recover. And I think in business is the same thing. You have to set your goals. You have to set that, you know, those timelines. Okay, I have to be on that, you know, meeting, or I have to be on this type of commitment, or hey, I have to, you have to hit the goals. I have to get the numbers every 30 days, right?
Mhm.
And on the sports is the same thing. You have to really kind of prepare yourself. You're totally right. I think it's a lot of here is mental, right? Now, at the speed that this world is going, you need to really kind of slow down and make decisions. The same way of the decision you're going to make riding your mountain bike or running your bike to one place, you know, from point A to point B. So yeah, there is so much to discover between those 2 points, from the endurance sports or from the sports to an entrepreneur. There is,
Mm.
I'm so happy to be at this time of my life when I can,
Excuse
bless
me.
you,
Thank
bless you,
you.
when
Thank
I
you.
can combine both things, you know, like, um, it is not the same as, you know, on my 30s or like 20 years ago, but I think now is the wisdom, right, on how you're going to train for an event or how you're going to train for a goal, and
Yeah.
then you apply the same thing with your business. How you going to take that meeting, how you going to go and close a deal, or how you going to help another brand to succeed, right? When you apply both things, right? So it's, yeah, to me it's fascinating. And you know, knowing that now that you kind of, we share kind of the same things, you know, that time that you spend running or you spend doing a, you know, some type of an exercise, applying it into the business. You know what is really interesting, I think, right now it's super hot, longevity, right? Longevity, it's a topic. It's something that it's very very hot right now and everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I can see people that they start their own business right now, and you already see them in a really bad shape, right? You already see them that, oh my God, this this guy is starting a business, but you can actually see him is not in shape. And the business is normally when you start discovering, and I know you talk with a lot to business owners, and when you start talking to them about their business and you see that, you know, the physical shape is not there, and the business of course is not going to be there.
No.
So definitely in order to balance the business, you know, like you probably like me, we're not 8 to 5 people, right? We don't work for somebody else. I always hate to go work and exchange my time for money. It was not me. As a kid, I always like, why I have to go and work there to get paid? You know, it's not me. And I always been seeing that thing, right? But that's why we have 24 hours so we can actually prepare ourselves early mornings. For my case, I prepare myself really early in the morning, you know, for a few hours before I start taking care of my business.
Yeah, well,
And
that's for me, that's power up. So I have this whole thing around powering up for the day and powering down for the day. And I think you need to power up in terms of exactly how are you powering yourself up? Like, how are you making sure that you're connected, that kind of inner
I love that.
connection? Yeah. And then how do you power it down so that you're disconnecting from your day, to then
Yeah.
be able to recharge and, reset, rejuvenate, actively recover so that you're ready to go again the next day. And it isn't like you say, it doesn't have to be this 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. That's certainly changed for me. I think when you
Tell me how you power up your day on the daily basis. Like
Oh, how do
how
I
you
power up? Oh
power up.
gosh, it depends. Like first thing, like I've got a little puppy. He's now 16 months old and he's currently tucked under a blanket because it's very cold here at the moment. It's like 1 degrees or something, 2 degrees in Melbourne. Um And so he's a whippet, so he doesn't like the cold. But generally, the first thing I'll do is I have my phone, and I have done that for years. It's not in my room where I sleep. I keep that completely separate. I don't have any tech in my bedroom at all. Like I make sure that when I go to sleep, I go to sleep, just because we're always on, right? And then I'll generally get up, and the first things I'll do is, be grateful for getting up for the day, say a little hello to my puppy, and, get him up, or he'll jump up. And then generally, with the first thing I do is just put on my active wear, and straight away I take him for a big walk, and we go get a coffee for me, a takeaway coffee. And that starts my day, in terms of, and then I'll come home. I might sit for a minute, have a herbal tea. I generally do have a herbal tea straight away. Might do some stretching, and then might read a bit around what's going on, and then I kind of just get into it. Like, it depends on what's going on for the day, will then depend on what time I start. I like to kind of generally start my mornings with deep work, in terms of being able to get into doing some deep work, so that I'm using the best part of my morning for me, and energetically, and when my brain is feeling at its best. The afternoons, I kind of find I'm more distracted, probably less energy. I'm more of a morning person, like probably like what you're talking about here. And then powering down is generally, just checking off what I have, like how my day like went, what I've still got to finish off or whatever. And then I always shut my computer down. I shut it, like, just to go, right, that's enough, like no more. Um, but I've had to be pretty religious with that, because obviously I mentioned to you, I had severe burnout. And so I wasn't, I wasn't powering up and powering down myself. So I was literally just on
Mm-hmm.
constantly, like just checking this thing constantly. Um, and now I've noticed a big difference. And you made the comment before around, if you're not physically healthy yourself, how can your business be healthy? And I truly believe that. And for a long time there, I probably wasn't physically healthy. The business was healthy, in terms of it was performing really well and doing really well. But I look back now, and everybody in the business was exhausted too. It was performing well financially, but at what cost to the rest of everybody in the organization? And it's kind of a really big reflection for me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you see it that way. And I'm the same, I run a business, I don't know, 16, 17 years. And then I noticed at one point that, oh, this is not healthy for me. This is not healthy for the organization. And we have the opportunity to exit, and boom, there we go, right? And this now later on is when you realize it's like how, think about if I continue running that business, um, and then, what happened to us in 2020. I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I was not into that business, because it will really put us in a different level. So
Yeah,
I think you're right. And I think, what you just described about the power up, right? And the power down. The power up, it's a great habit that we need to develop. I do believe that we need to develop those healthy habits, and I have a method that it's a 22 day of developing that habit, right? To waking up in the morning and dedicate put the time for yourself. I think
yeah,
is really important, right?
100%.
There's a lot of things that we can do, like going, like what you're doing, going for a walk with your dog. I at the same thing. I have a big dog, and the first thing I do in the morning is trying to get light and trying to get the sound and trying
Yeah,
to get the beautiful birds and the trees and everything that surrounds me through my eyes. And it helps you a lot with neuroscience. And neuroscience it just really helps you with the flow of your day, right?
100%.
You get that. I don't grab my phone until I come back from that walk and sit down and not really deep into business, but I'm using some applications for like meditation, and I'm using some, reading and things that I do for myself for the first couple hours. And I think that will find me that it really charged me. And I like the way that you call it power up, because it really charged me and really give you power to get into the business, right? And hey, I live in California. Everybody is freaking crazy driving those freeways and getting stuck
Yeah,
in
I've been
traffic, right? I cannot do that anymore. I have a beautiful
getting
office.
old.
Yeah, probably it's getting old, but I just don't have the time to really see that, right? And this communication with you, this is what I enjoy with life. I have a beautiful team, a beautiful creative team in different places. I have an office in Mexico City. I have another office here in Seattle, in California, that we are, building really good things. And everybody's so creative. Everybody knows what to do, and I think technology kind of help us, right, to stay
100%.
organized and moving forward. But I think what you just say, the power up and the power down, I think is also the key, right? Because when you disconnect, you have to disconnect. I do believe on that. I start putting my phone on air mode, like 8 o'clock, and I just don't remove that until like next morning, and it's been a wonderful.
Yeah,
It's just
mine goes on at about 10, but I hadn't thought about doing it any earlier, but it goes into like that kind of switch off mode. Do you know what happened to me, funnily enough, yesterday? I was and I work with a lot of my clients, and I've introduced the powering up and powering down into their schedule, and it's making a huge difference. But yesterday I had a meeting to go to, and I was off to my client, and I got there and I'm like, oh, I've left my phone at home, which I never do. And I realized where I'd left it. I'd left it in my walking doggy bag. But I must have just been so like in my flow state, in my flow, that I just didn't even think to grab it. And when I saw my client, she's like, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Yeah, it's just a phone. It'll be fine." Because for a split second, as I was driving off, and I couldn't, my Apple Play wasn't coming on in my car. I was like, "Oh, that's strange. Where's my car?" Like, and then I realized, and I was like, do I go home and get it, or do I just keep going? And I went, just go. And it's something in me just said, don't worry, it'll be fine. And so for 2 hours, I didn't have my phone. And it was kind of funny because it was just like, once upon a time, I would have just been freaking out about not having this thing attached to me. But instead, and I came home and nothing, like, I mean, obviously I could check my emails with where I was when I was at my clients, but it was there, nothing happened. Like it was just like, so I think as I said before, we're getting older. I think we're just getting wiser, and we've been there and done that. And we're like, you know what? There's way more to this life, than just always having to be on and always having to be hustling and always having to be chasing. It's like you do endurance events for a reason. Slow and steady wins the race. It's not endurance isn't like sprinting the whole way because you'd pretty much die
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And it's the
Yeah.
same with entrepreneurship and business, right? You're playing a long game. You're always playing that long game, and you are going to have moments where you fail fast. You might have to pivot. You might have to, change strategy or tactics. You use that compass, analogy as well.
Yeah, you know what is it, right? You're talking about the compass, right? I have this it is like endurance rule to apply for any founder out there, right? It's you need to plan to get lost, right? If you are not running a business, it has to be on that plan. If you're doing anything bold, expect to lose your way,
Yeah,
right? And it's the same on endurance sports. And but a lot of the founders, a lot of people, when they get lost, they think that that's a failure, and it's not a failure. You know, it's part of the exploration of really what the business is about. And the map will fail all the time, and the same as your business plan, right? But you have to figure out how to shift.
yeah,
The market will shift, you know, and always the most important thing for me, I think, is keep moving forward. Forward still matters. So is what you need to do is, another step, and then the business is the same thing. And the same thing on your legs, right? Your legs are gonna get tired. Your legs are gonna burn. You run your bike. So the legs at one point are gonna say, hey, just stop, right? And the same thing on their business. our mind is going to tell us is like, hey, you can continue, right? It's going to be your legs that are going to be tired, but your mind is going to be there. So it's always when you have very clear what is your mind, what is the purpose of your business, right? Of that, or the event that you're doing, or the activity that you're doing, and always realize with your team. You have a team. You have a team that you can talk. When I was doing these endurance events, just think about doing a 400 miles in the middle of the rainforest, and you have three guys that are super strong, a lot of testosterone, but then you have the woman in the team, right? And you always have to rely with everybody on the team, right? Everybody. So everybody has control of one thing. Like one has a map, the compass, the other one has the nutrition side, the other one is looking for some, roads and checkpoints, and the other one has a time. You always have a team. And the same in business is always, always, always you're going to have a team. The most important is you have to move at the speed that you trust, right? In racing or in your business. And that speed that you trust, it's not only your speed, or it's not the speed of the founder. I'm sorry, you're not going to believe, but I'm getting a call from Australia from my friend Ruth Lalpa that is right by you. And
Is he in Melbourne?
she's in Melbourne, yes.
She's in
And
Melbourne.
she's
There you
just
go.
calling me right now. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm sorry for that call, but yeah, I have to call her back. But she's right there by you. How odd is this?
Yeah, it's so funny. So funny. No, but you're making really valid points, right? In terms of, and I won't keep you for too much longer, but, even what you shared, it was all around, I asked a question around what are your insights on life, leadership, and business when booking in for the pod. And you've pretty much just talked about that now in terms of you said the most important thing insight I've learned from racing the world's toughest endurance events and building startups is that success isn't about speed. It's about navigation. And most people think they must move faster, must hustle harder and grind longer. But in life and business, the real challenge is knowing how to move forward when completely lost. And I've been there, like having that burnout when you're completely lost. You're just like, I cannot see the wood for the trees.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah,
isn't about, and it's probably the biggest thing for me that I've learned, and working with clients now is that the more you push, the more you hustle, the work will always be there. It'll always be there. So you can keep pushing and you can can keep hustling,
yeah,
but at what cost? At what cost physically, right? And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
and mentally, because you're only as good as your people, you're only as good as the team around you as well. And you were talking about that as well. And then you talked about this whole thing around you've raced through jungles, rainforests, and deserts with no GPS. You sound as crazy as Charles. With just a map and a compass, and you've built businesses that hit unexpected walls and found yourself personally off track more times than you can count. And what you've learned is that progress isn't always about force, but sometimes it's about pausing, reassessing, and finding a new line. The map changes, which for me is that non-linear path, that the path is never ever linear. And the team shifts, the goals evolve, but mental, emotional, strategic navigation are the skills that keep you in the race. That is really profound and a good reminder because, when I read this the other day, I was having a moment myself in my entrepreneurial world, but also just in general, just feeling a little bit, I would say lost, definitely not lost, but I was just I was just on I might as well have been racing somewhere and I was kind of like, I don't know which way to go. Like, which way am I going
a
right now?
decision. You're on the point of a decision.
Yeah, I was
You stop on a point that you have to make a decision, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly, and so, but it was just having that reminder, that insight that you can pause right now. And so, as much as I feel like, excuse me, I feel like that maybe of late haven't slowed down, but I've certainly been pausing a bit more. I'm pausing because I'm on the next cusp of where my business is heading and where I'm heading. And it's like, yeah, it's decisions on certain things that require that pause versus just push, 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 hustle, 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 make the wrong decisions, not have the chance to even be present and think about it. And I feel like that is gold. That is absolute gold.
Let me ask you a question, and you know I know the answer, but let me you want to come out from you is you already make a lot of mistakes in life, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course, right? Same, you know, like we always, the reason we make those mistakes in life is because we don't have that time to really stop and make that decision, right? Because we're hustling, we're moving, and we're doing things, and I want that. Okay, let's just follow it and make it happen and buy it, and hey, I want this, and we always constantly that, and there's a lot of business out there that they have that in mind, and I think right now you mentioned that just like we're wiser now, right? We have, we know now that okay, you have to take. That's why we do this power up. I'm gonna use that. Oh shit, I love that. See,
Yeah.
it's amazing. That's why we do that because you would really have to analyze. Okay, what I'm gonna do today, or what, or we have an agendas, right? But hey, pick three, four great things every day that you can develop and then you can put all your efforts to it, right? And I think the best part of it is being consistent. Just be consistent, be patient and be consistent. And I think in business, in any successful entrepreneur out there is going to tell you, just be consistent. Just keep pushing every day, pace yourself, time yourself, enjoy it because we have only one life in this earth, right? So enjoy that moment and just let that happen. If you make a mistake, hey, just stop, make a decision, make another turn. Okay, it
Pivot,
was not
take another
that
pivot.
direction.
Yeah, I
Pivot,
agree. No,
pivot, right? Go in a different direction and keep
yeah.
going, right? So those are things that I think as a creative, we have that ability, right? I have a lot of friends, clients that I'm doing products, they're engineers or they're all their different mentalities are super square and we have that ability to really grab those clients that they're square on that mentality that you can actually assist and help to really pivot or really create something else, right? And I think that's the beauty of what we're balancing right now between our ability to do some type of sports that takes that creativity and that consistent effort and put it into our entrepreneurship lifestyle that needs the same thing, needs the discipline and it's a consistent to develop that.
Yeah,
And I think that
I truly believe it's the consistency and it's like slow and steady wins the race. I truly believe that too. And I'm
100%,
not saying slow as in, like just be slow for the sake of being slow, but do things with purpose, do it with intent, integrity,
100%.
and consistency. So I know you've got people to speak to in Australia, not just myself, but one last question for you. In terms of where you see yourself, like with your endurance and then with your entrepreneurship, like you've got this humming business going as we speak around, that like, obviously what you're doing from a creative perspective. Where do you see this all going for you from down into the future?
You know what is real interesting? I've been working for a few years. I've been working on a book. That book is turning into a little bit more than a book. It's more like a method of of how to combine both things. I believe there is a purpose in this life when you find it and when you know what it is. Um, I want to follow that. I think I'm just really passionate into what I do. Um, I'm not thinking like other people, right? Like, oh, when I'm gonna retire, how I'm gonna
No, I'm
retire.
the
I
same.
don't think that ever happened into my head. I want to create more products. I want to share more. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity because I do want to share more things. I want to meet more people like you that has that purpose of sharing and helping other people. That's what I think. That's what I'm going. I'm going into that direction. I have an amazing team in my HAFGrow X Media in my organization. A lot of young people that they're really I can mentor them and I can help them, be part of the company. Um, so I think I'm going into that direction, right? And to like really continue make building that book and that knowledge. And I always see that I feel like I'm a knowledge broker, and I want to meet more of those, and
And all your
share.
yeah, and it's lived experience, right? Like I'm using my lived experience in terms of when, working with leaders and businesses around this inside out transformation because it all comes from within. It's all coming from within here. And there's a great opportunity to be working and I think guiding the younger generation, but also guiding the older generation. And how do you bring the two together? And
Yeah,
it is a long game. It's endurance, right? It's everything we've talked about.
yeah.
Business is a long game also.
Look, I did this in the 2000s. I did five of the toughest world expedition races in the world. And I was also, oh, how cute, look at that. And I
He's
was
just
and I was just thinking that in that moment is like, every single race was a lot of preparation, commitment, a lot of discipline, and then it was a lot of suffering. Day one, day two, you're like asking yourself that why I'm doing here. you know Day three, you're sleep deprivation. You're like, oh, the heck I'm doing here. I'm not going to do this again. So there is a lot of things that comes to your head. There's a lot of moments that you're alone, a lot of moments that you're thinking and you're like connecting to God, and you're connecting with your friends, with your community, with the people, right? But this happened in the 2000s, and I was like just asking myself, like, okay,
what is
why
this?
am I going? Why I did that? And I think that was a purpose to do that. And now it's put in all those moments from every single race, right, into this package that I want to share, that I want to give. And you just say it. I think we've been building experiences in our life that there is so much already of that experience that we can give it to other people to use it for business, for their college careers, for their jobs, for what they're doing in life. So I think that is what I'm going to go through. It is just like grabbing that experience and giving it to people and see
You
how
have
I
so
can
much. You have so much to
help them,
give. And with
right?
your creative spin, and that's how I've created my own methodology. The formless methodology is through my own lived experience, and it's connecting it all together. And then how do you share that with others? How do you because you've been there, you understand it, but and showing them that there are different ways. Nothing is linear, that you're going to go off the beaten path. These things happen, but that's okay. And you will
Yes,
get there. Like it's a journey. You know, there is no destiny as such, right? Like you don't land just somewhere. It's constantly the compass is constantly changing. The map is constantly changing.
100%, 100%.
So, Alberto, how do we find out more about you? I'm going to keep on top of you on this book. Like, I'm going to reach out to you every so often and go, "How's this book going of yours?" But how do we find out more about you and all your wise words of, yeah,
Yeah, thank you. I'm on social media and on LinkedIn under H. Alberto Flores. My website is halfgrow.com. I have a little bit of a story about my endurance career on a website called 4050adventure.com. The
cool,
number 40, the number 50adventure.com. And this is special for athletes that did extraordinary things on their 20s and 30s. And now they're on their 40s and 50s, and they are hitting the wall and they don't know what to do. And we just
I love that.
sit down and meditate on what we did back in when we're 20s, and
Cool,
how you can bring that back in whatever stage you are in life. I do believe that the 40s and the 50s are the new 20s and the 30s if you put it on your head.
So do I.
And I do believe that so strong. I've been going through, through a lot of that, through my life, from breakthroughs and, challenges, and I want to just have it in there. So yeah, H Alberto Flores and 4050adventure.com.
I love that. And you can teach an old dog new tricks, right? Like you can. Like I feel like the 40s and 50s as I'm heading more into my fifth. Well, I'm not, I've got a couple more years to go before I hit 50, but I totally agree with you. We're wiser. I don't want to go back to being 20. I'm like, and I want to go back to being in my early 30s. Like I've learned
And
enough.
I can tell you, you're going into the with the right shape and the right energy to your 50s. You look great. You have that energy. Is keep it going. Share that with the woman that you can't. I know you do that. I would love to reconnect with you anytime
Yeah,
soon.
for sure.
There is a lot of more things to share. I think there's a lot of things that I have in my method that I can share with you that you can use, and maybe the power up. I love that power
I've
up.
got more tools. I've got more high flow.
I've,
I've got a lot more high flow tools that I could share with you that I work with my clients on as well. So yeah, maybe
yeah,
we pick up a pod chat again in I don't know, a few months' time and see where we're both at and what's been happening since we last
would love to.
spoke.
We'd
Yeah.
love to. We'd love to. Anytime. I'm definitely gonna. I need to organize that on me. I'm really impressed with what you have in your organization and what you're doing. The same of our buddy Douglas is just incredible. The way that you guys are taking this to the next level. I want to be part of that. So yeah, I'm gonna be bugging you guys and see how I can learn more from you guys
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
No, I
I've loved
appreciate
our
it.
chat and you need to come to Melbourne, Australia. You're being called. Like,
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna put you in touch. I'm gonna send an email and put you in touch with this woman that I'm doing this amazing. She's from Mexico. I think she was in the embassy of Mexico in Australia, and I'm designing a tequila bottle for
I love tequila.
her family that she's bringing into Australia. Very interesting, something very, very different. And yeah, there is a lot of good things coming from Mexico to Australia. So I'm gonna put you guys in touch because I think you guys have the same energy, and you guys just right there. Like I can't believe you guys that she's calling me and I'm with you on this. But
No, thank
thank you for
you.
being. This
Thank you.
is this has been amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Take care. We talk
Take
soon.
care. See you. Bye.